I don't know if you've heard about this hot car death. Justin Ross Harris, who's a 33-year-old, has been charged with felony murder and second-degree child cruelty after leaving his son in his car. He claims that he simply forgot to drop off his son at daycare before heading to work. Cooper Harris was in the car, the SUV, for 7 hours. Temperatures rose to 88 degrees. Ultimately, Cooper died. After the initial claims from the father that he had forgotten about his son, it turned out that both the father and the mother had done searches online looking into how long it takes someone to die if they're in a closed car in the heat. And the entire defense started to fall apart. As I mentioned, Justin Ross Harris has already been arrested and charged. Authorities are also speaking to the mother. As of right now, she has not yet been charged with anything, but authorities are talking to her, in part because, number one, when she was told what happened, she seemed really mostly interested in where her husband was rather than what happened to her kid. And number two, again, because it seems that she was doing some of these suspicious searches online. I completely agree that criminal charges are valid here. What this made me think of, Lewis, is story after story after story that we report on this program of people dying as a result of unsecured guns, supposed responsible gun owners leaving their guns in a place where kids have access to them, or completely accidental shootings. And they are essentially treated as, quote, accidents, which is a term I completely reject. We're talking about negligent firearms discharges. And they're no-fault incidents in too many cases. Some people are charged, but too many times, Lewis, no one is charged. It's chalked up to an accident. Even if we were to believe that this was a complete accident, this man would still be at least charged with a crime here because he is simply being negligent to his child. How do you forget where your kid is for 7 hours? And it seems almost like there's a tougher guideline here with what you do, in this case it's a car, than what you do with firearms, which are designed to shoot people. The firearm only does one thing. It shoots bullets. And we seem to say, hey, there's no fault. It was just a misunderstanding. No charges at all.
And we could turn it around too and say that if a parent wanted to, instead of giving the child up for adoption, kill the child with a gun and make it look like an accident and say it was an accidental discharge, they might be more likely to get away with it just because of what you mentioned.
In some states, that would be far more believable. We heard in a story last week from a Kentucky sheriff or police officer who said, unfortunately, it's pretty common that there are lots of guns around here. They're not always secured. Sometimes kids are handed guns. And, the 5-year-old shot the 2-year-old dead. It's an accident, but this happens. In many cases, that would go under the radar of criminality, chalked up as just as an accident, far easier than something like this, a kid in a car for 7 hours. We've really got to evaluate our priorities here because what's going on is just incredible. Let's take a break. We have plenty more coming up today. We will talk about, I've been asked many times now to speak about the BDS movement, boycott, divestment, sanctions of Israel. I will tell you what my view is, and I will tell you what the views are of Norman Finkelstein as well as Noam Chomsky. There may be more in common than you might think.